Evening, and welcome to Catholic Charities. Welcome to our first ever virtual Facebook Live event. My name is Cynthia Quintanilla, and I am the Executive Director for Catholic Charities. I want to welcome you. This is our first time ever doing a virtual event. As you know, our usual Night to Remember comes at the beginning of June every year. And this year, due to COVID-19, there were several challenges that presented itself. And so we were unable to have the event in person. So this is our version of Night to Remember, and we're calling it A Time to Remember. The reason that we wanted to still host some kind of virtual event is because we still have the need for your support during this time, especially during this time of COVID-19, and especially as we see families who are continuing to struggle, those who've been impacted have lost their jobs or have reduced hours, or they're having to stay home with their kids and provide for them on a daily basis. So lots of challenges for families these days. And I want to thank you for being here this evening and for joining us, because this means quite a bit to our community, to Catholic Charities, to the supporters who are always behind us and giving us that push that we need in order to continue serving our community. So I just wanted to very quickly start in prayer, because I know that we always need prayer every single day of our lives. And so if you'll please join me very quickly for a short prayer. Good and gracious God, we just thank you for this day. And we thank you for all of the blessings that you continue to bestow on each and every one of us. We ask that you be here with us this evening as we share about a time to remember, share about some memories, share about what it means to be a good neighbor. And we just continue to ask your blessings upon this event and upon the work that Catholic Charities does each and every day. And we just give you all the praise and all the glory for allowing us the opportunity to bring your work to the people here around us. In your name we pray. Amen. So a time to remember. Remember when COVID-19 first hit and we were asked to stay at home. And then the following week, there were no more masses. And so a lot of the churches were scrambling to figure out how they were going to continue to offer Mass. I saw some doing Facebook Live. I saw some churches doing their own video recordings prior to Sunday or Saturday evening. I saw some churches who continued to try to offer the Mass via social media, via their website. And so a lot of that struggle during that time meant that we were without the Eucharist. We were actually having to do a spiritual communion during our usual time of communion. And so I just wanted to share a story about what happened in our office, because we had actually closed the doors to the public during that time. And we only had limited staff coming to the office to report every day. And to this day, we still have limited staff. We're still asking some of our staff to continue to work from home. But during that time, Sabrina Robbins, who is our program director for the Direct Client Assistance Program, decided that she would reach out to her pastor at St. Elizabeth's. And she asked if she could go and pick up the consecrated hosts to share with some of us there at the office. And so she was able to do that, to make that connection for us. And this was probably a couple of weeks after we had already been in this mode of COVID-19. And she was able to bring us the consecrated host, and we were able to share communion there in the office. And what a beautiful feeling it was to have Jesus with us, especially amid everything that we were dealing with COVID-19. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that we were no longer able to help the clients, see them face to face. And that was a struggle, because a lot of us depend on that social interaction in order to be able to help those people who need us on a daily basis. And so it was just comforting to us to have that Eucharist brought in and shared with us. And we just really enjoyed those couple of times that we were able to share in the Eucharist. And so my point is that a lot of times the Eucharist, what we're used to, when those things change and they're taken away from us, what an appreciation we have once it's brought back to us and we're able to enjoy it again. And that's the same thing at Catholic Charities, is that right now we're not able to see clients face to face, and it's really been hard to do things differently, to do them virtually, or to do it over the phone, or to, ask people to fax their information to us or to email it to us, and not have that same face-to-face contact. But we've endured. We've been able to continue the work, and we've been able to continue with providing the food that people need on a daily basis, providing them that strength that they need. And so that's just one of the stories that I wanted to share. Another thing that I wanted to talk about this evening was a little bit about my background here at Catholic Charities. This September, I will complete my 24th year with Catholic Charities. And I was originally hired by Steve Hay to come in and fill the role of administrative assistant. And so gradually as I learned more about the agency, I learned about the financials, the grant reporting requirements, the payroll aspect of everything, and then moved into the role of business manager and took over a lot of those responsibilities as well. And then 6 years ago, I was blessed to be asked to serve as executive director of Catholic Charities. And I can tell you that it's been nothing but a blessing to be able to serve in this capacity. And throughout the years, I have learned in my role as executive director to really talk to the people, especially those who are called to serve as workers here at Catholic Charities. And I just really enjoy getting to know them and getting to know what their passion is, and really seeing them put their action to work. So a lot of what my role requires is that I talk to a lot of people. And here recently, I have also been involved with WTOS and LEAD, which is a community organizing based institution that has really helped us to talk even more to people in power in our community, to people who are struggling amid COVID-19, to those who are called to be clients or are seeking some kind of help, or just staying in conversation all of the time with various people from other churches, from other institutions, from other nonprofits. And so it's really exciting work because we get to talk about some of the things that impact our community. And one of those, of course, right now is COVID-19, and getting the funding that we deserve to be able to respond to the needs right now is one of our main topics that we've been talking about, and how we can actually help our community members in various ways. So the conversation continues about how we can best help the members who are, once again, directly impacted by COVID-19. And it's important work that goes hand in hand with my work as Executive Director of Catholic Charities. And so I've really enjoyed that piece of the work that I've been doing as WTOS and LEAD teach me how to be a leader in our community and to address some of those needs up front with some of the people in power. For a time to remember, I wanted to just basically share some of the stories that I remember from the time that I was hired as an administrative assistant, working under some of the previous executive directors. And of course, a lot of you probably know and remember Steve Hay and his wife, Palmira. I was able to go and visit with them last year because our annual gathering for CCUSA was in Albuquerque. And so I got to meet them for dinner one night, and I got to visit with them a little bit and just kind of share about some of the memories that Steve and I had when we worked together. And so, basically we just talked about some of the people that we remembered from back then. Of course, that was Joe Hart and Louis Eggenberger and some of the board members who served at that time, who really were key to starting and implementing Catholic Charities from the very beginning. And it was just good to reminisce and to think about some of the things that happened along the way as we were incorporated as Catholic Charities and as we began the mission here in the Diocese of Lubbock. And it was just time for us to really reconnect and to share. And Steve Hay was such a wonderful person. He was always, I remember, very happy-go-lucky, just really enjoyed life itself and just really enjoyed talking to people all of the time. And he really had that unique connection with all of the parishes and the priests, and he would just really stay in communication with them and be able to make that connection and be able to get the support that he needed from all of the various parishes. And so that was one of my memories, is just always seeing him out and about and doing the work of Catholic Charities above and beyond just, caring for the staff. He also made sure to reach out to all of the parishes and reach out to all of the priests and make that connection and be able to share the work that we were doing and how we could all work together to really help our community. And then, of course, when Steve left, Jeff Malpede came in, and Jeff was a little bit more reserved. And I remember working under him, I had requested that I be able to spend a couple of days in Plainview, because at that time I lived in Plainview. And so each week I would spend probably 2 or 3 days in Plainview and then report to the Lubbock office either 2 or 3 days. So that was something that he granted right away. And that helped with me not having to drive in from Plainview every single day. And some days, being able to accommodate my schedule, maybe based on weather issues or things like that. So I remember that Jeff was always working on grants. He would shut his door and he would just hunker down and he'd get to work on those grants. And of course, he was very good at applying for grants and for getting those successful responses from the foundations and being able to support the work that we were doing at Catholic Charities. And so that's one of my memories of Jeff Malpede. And then, of course, after Jeff came Beth Zarate, and she was from Houston, had taken the job as executive director here in Lubbock. And she came in just a whirlwind of excitement and really passionate about what she did. I remember the first time meeting with her, she took every single employee aside and just really sat down one-on-one, talked to them, kind of got a feel for, what was going on in the agency and how she could really help bring the agency back together. And there were many times where she would try to do that, either that was through our retreats or through the activities, the staff meetings that we did, some of the skits that we had to play. That was always a lot of fun. I think her background was actually in youth ministry at one time. And so she really brought some of those dynamics to some of the things that we did and included those in our meetings. So that was always a lot of fun. I also wanted to talk about what it means to be a good neighbor. And many times we forget. We forget about our neighbors. We get so busy with the day-to-day stuff of taking care of our families, of being able to work and go to church and do the things that are required on a day-to-day basis, that sometimes we do forget about our neighbors. But I think amid this pandemic, now is especially the most important time to be able to reach out to our neighbors and to say, hey, are you okay? Are you doing all right? Do you need anything? Is there any way that I can help you? Maybe something as simple as sharing something that you baked with them. I think that's always welcomed. I have a neighbor that lives to the east of me, and we're always trading back and forth some goodies. She'll bake on a certain day and send me some cupcakes or some cookies, and then I'll bake on another day and send her, or maybe I'll make some enchiladas for dinner or something like that, and I'll send it her way, and that way she doesn't have to cook. And it's always a lot of fun to connect that way and to have that kind of relationship with a neighbor. And so for me, it's always important to make those connections. I have another neighbor that's to the west, and she's elderly, and she has a daughter who takes care of her on a daily basis and comes and checks on her. And so I don't see her quite as often, but I know that, anytime I have their phone numbers, if anything goes wrong, I can call the daughter and let her know, hey, something's up. And we just kind of communicate that way and just kind of stay in touch. But it's always good to make that connection and to be able to support each other, because that's really what this time is all about, is making the connections and offering the support that maybe people don't have during this time because they're isolated or they're alone or they're having to work from home or they're having to face various challenges. So that's really what the work at Catholic Charities, that's what we've been able to do, is to offer families the additional support that they need, especially if they're struggling to pay their rent and they've been impacted, so they don't have the same income that they had before. And we're just trying to help them make sure that they don't end up homeless, or make sure that their homes don't get foreclosed on. And it's just part of the work that we've agreed to do without any kind of additional staff support or anything like that. We still continue with the same number of staff that we've had. We were able to apply for the Paycheck Protection Loan Program for all of our employees, and so that's helped. But, many challenges that we've faced, I think all of the staff have been really good about stepping up to the plate and finding a way to make it work. And that includes our youth case managers, that includes our counselors, That includes our direct client assistance staff. It really it encompasses the whole organization, and it's just been really great to see them be able to do that at whatever work that they have to continue to do to serve people in our community, and they've been really good at that. So those are some of the ways that we've been able to respond to COVID-19, and those are some of the things that we're doing to continue to respond and to continue to provide that additional assistance to people in need. We've been able to apply to the Community Foundation of West Texas. That was one of the first things that I did as soon as they said that they had funds available. And so I put in a grant application to them and asked for $112,000, and they were able to grant that, and we were able to expend all of that, helping people mainly with rent, but also some utilities, some transportation, and some prescriptions. And that's, like I said, without any kind of additional staff help under that program. And then I think what's most important to mention here is that Catholic Charities continues to help our neighbors on the South Plains. We do it by providing a path to well-being through support and empowerment. That's our mission. That's what we're called to do. And so any way that God presents a way for us to do that, we're going to step up to the plate, and we're going to do that. We're going to be sure and make it possible for people to continue to live healthy, well-being lives in whatever manner they consider that to be. And we just want to be that connecting piece for them to be able to do that, and to give them their own empowerment to be able to continue with their lives amid all of the challenges. Our supporters, you as supporters, you do that as well. You become a neighbor to those in need. Even though you've never met them, even though you only hear the stories that we share every once in a while on social media or on our website or in our newsletter, those are the ways that you're making a difference. Those are the ways that you're being a neighbor to someone in need, and making sure that people are able to work their way out of poverty, like our parent empowerment program. That's one of the key aspects of that program, is that we offer the people a chance to get an education and work their way out of poverty, so that they and their families are not having to depend on assistance anymore. They're able to self-support themselves, and they're able to continue with their lives and be happy and healthy. So today, amid all of the challenges that we all have to face, because we've all been impacted in one way or another, I pray that you are staying safe, that you are staying healthy. And I just want to put one last plug to how you can be a good neighbor. And that's by wearing your masks, because COVID-19 is not going anywhere, not until we find a vaccine. And each time that you walk out of your house, you put yourself and your families in danger by choosing not to wear the mask. And it's just a safety precaution, just like hand sanitizing and social distancing. Those are just all precautions that we have to follow. And so I just ask that each one of you continue to keep those that you love safe and healthy, especially during this time. It's a challenge, and it's definitely something that is uncomfortable, because a lot of people say they can't breathe through the mask. Well, I wouldn't want to breathe through a ventilator if I ended up in ICU or anything like that. And there are stories of people that has actually happened to in our community. And to think about the consequences of ending up in the hospital and all of the hospital fees and things that you have to pay afterwards. It's just not worth the risk to me. So I would rather have people look at me with my mask on. My mask is a Texas A&M Aggie mask. I do it for my brother because he has a compromised immune system. And I do it because I love him. He's a Texas A&M graduate. And I do it because I love my neighbors. And I ask that you do the same. So I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank you for joining us on this Facebook Live event. And I want to thank you for being supporters, for being good neighbors to the people here in our community, because that's the only way that we're able to fulfill our mission of helping those in need, helping the least among us. Thank you, and God bless.